Good morning. Welcome into episode 3 of the Cedar Lake Fishing Club podcast. We're going to start off today with a reading from Touchstones. Here we go. The reward of friendship is itself. The man who hopes for anything else does not understand what true friendship is. The comfort of a true friend in a time of trouble, the strength we sense in being with someone who truly knows us, the affirmation of life that comes with enduring friendships. No other experience is like these. Recovery, once our addictive behaviors end, is mostly through relationships. In this program, we are developing a friendship with ourselves, with other men and women, and with our higher power. True friendship happens when we lower our guard and let our feelings show. It happens when we listen without judgment. It accumulates over time in many little experiences with someone. There is friendship in returning to someone when we feel offended or hurt so the relationship can be repaired, and in returning to him when we have been the offender. Sometimes friendship means humility or accepting our worthiness to be forgiven. The development and deepening of our friendships with other men, with women, and with ourselves sustains us in recovery. Today, I will be true in my friendships. That's a good one. It's a good one. I have a lot of friends in my life that are back in Colorado, and I'm not currently there. But I miss those guys and wish them the best. And we may not be speaking every day or every week, but, those are lifelong friends. And even though they're not on a path of sobriety, that's fine. We can still connect and we can still be buds and we can still be happy together. I have some close friends here as well in Minnesota and value each friendship, the honesty, the humility, being humble with them, being able to share deep thoughts and goals and dreams, being able to cry, being able to laugh. Wouldn't change anything. Those good friends are hard to come by. So let's talk about the weekend. Hope you all had a good weekend out there. Started off Friday kicking some ass around the house, doing a little house project, a little tiling up a bathroom shower in my house, and it's been an ongoing project. I don't know if any of you can relate, but a project that I thought was going to take a couple months is now year 1.5. But we're getting there. I can see the end of the tunnel. There's a little light peeking out there, so feeling pretty good about it. Only got a couple more sessions to go. I have these problems when I'm doing these projects like that where I hit a block or I hit a difficult part of it and I overthink it for a couple weeks or a month or two and kind of lose my momentum, and I get distracted and get excited about doing other things while I think of the best solution to get over my struggles there. But I'm pushing on, and like I said, I can see the end, and it's great. Saturday, I took my youngest daughter to this Jurassic Quest that they had downtown at the convention center. It was a bunch of animatronic dinosaurs and fun things for kids to do. It was great. We had a great time. I then took her to the museum that I work at and showed her around some of my favorite paintings. I actually have a painting hanging in this museum as well as part of this staff art show. And I was able to show her my painting, which was pretty cool. It's a pretty special moment for me. And then we went and had some good chill time at home. I took a nap while she watched a movie. We kind of snuggled together. It was great. Saturday night, met a friend and had a super bomb pizza at Pizza Luce, the korma pizza with beef korma and tomatoes and olives and like a spicy pesto sauce. Man, so good. It was St. Patty's weekend, so the place was hopping. Downtown was crazy. After Pizza Luce, we went out to a concert and met his cousin and his wife there. We went and saw Andy Frasco in the UN. And I don't know if you know who they are, but man, they jam. He has so much energy, so much positive energy, and doesn't wear any shoes and just dances around. Super hippie vibes, jam bandy, just amazing energy throughout. He's built this cool contraption. He plays two keyboards and he's got like this case and he's built this contraption for it where he hits a button and like the whole thing raises up and this green light underneath it and then he hits another button and smoke machine starts and all this smoke comes out and then he stands on top of it and just gets down and gets funky, dances with no shoes on. Love it. So much fun. Post show, we kind of walked around downtown for a minute and saw all the craziness that was St. Patrick's Day, getting into clubs and all these kids out on the street partying. Some drunk guy in the parking lot was getting arrested for sideswiping a vehicle and was just out of control yelling and trying to fight the tow truck driver. And man, glad I wasn't in his shoes that night because I don't know where he woke up on Sunday, but I bet he was not having a good day. But my friend and I, who is also in the program, just kind of looked at him and said, man, let's count our blessings, right? So, Andy Frasco in the UN, if you haven't checked him out, check him out. There's a show I was listening to live at Red Rocks. It's not kid friendly, but it is an amazing jam if you need some upbeat, positive music in your life. Sunday night, capped off my weekend with a little hockey game. My 21st place team took on the 5th place team, and it went about as expected. We had 8 guys show up. For anyone that knows hockey, you need 5 for a line. So that means we had 3 guys sitting on the bench, which is not ideal. It was one of those games where the first shot of the game onto me came through a screen and was a hard, high slap shot, and they scored. And it was like, all right, here we go. This is how it's going to be. The first period, they scored 4 goals on me. Second period, they scored 1 on me. And then in the third, they scored 2. My team scored 1 the whole game, so it ended up 7-1. The shots at the end of the game were 57-27. It's hard to take. It's hard to take another loss, but I was kind of prepped for it, and I just tried to give my best. I tried to give my all. And that second period, where they only let 1 through me, I made some really good saves, stopped a lot, and that was fun. With this, I think my season draws to an end. There's one more game coming up on Friday. I don't think I'll be able to make it, but We're playing the first place team in the league, so I'm pretty sure I know how that's going to go as well. Um, but it's been an experience. It's been a learning experience. It's been challenging. It's been tough. It's been heartbreaking. It's been frustrating, but it's been a lot of fun as well. It's good to get out there and sweat and joke around with the guys and have fun and get a good workout and, you know, make some saves. So I'll still be playing my regular Tuesday night league. Seems like I go 2 weeks on, 1 week off there. So through the summer, I'll be stepping back a little bit and just continuing with that league, which is tons of fun. It's a great group of guys, super chill. It's an hour and a half long, so you just get out there and sweat and have fun. And it's a mix of old guys and young guys. We've got a couple of young studs that can skate end to end and score, and a couple older guys that, everybody kind of gives them a chance and backs off when they get the puck. And when those guys score, man, the whole place goes nuts. It's great. I love it. So I'll keep you updated on how that goes, but I'm looking forward to just having a chill spring/summer now, not getting too amped up or worked out about the games upcoming and stress and having a little bit more time at home. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about urban gardening this episode. Urban gardening is something I'm super passionate about. For a little while there, I was part of a pilot program at the Minneapolis Public School District that was doing garden to cafeteria produce. I helped run a garden at a middle and elementary school that would take produce straight from the garden, walk over to the cafeteria, clean it, make sure it was good to go, and then we added it to a salad bar for the kids to enjoy. And they loved it. It was amazing. Um, so let me just talk a little bit about here. And urban gardening and activism kind of go hand in hand. Now, if you're anything of an activist, you can understand the need to take back some form of power from those in control. As a gardener, we strive to take control back from the large corporations who are flooding our minds and bodies with garbage. Growing, cooking, and eating your own food is an excellent way to take back that control. You gain control over your health. You gain control of your bank account, not buying all that food with all that garbage, overinflated prices, $10 for a 12 pack of eggs right now. It's crazy. Now, you also gain control of your mental health by being outside, soaking up the vitamins from the sun and the earth, and contributing towards something worthwhile. You don't have to be an expert gardener or even have like acres of land to start a path towards positive food health by growing some of your own food. Now, when I ran this community garden at the school, we were able to have all these detention kids come out and help us garden. They would have the option to stay inside and serve their detention inside or come out and help me out in the garden when I had my free period out there. And, the kids came out and loved it. We were able to have kids spend their detention hours outside with the volunteer gardeners and help us doing like weeding and planting, pruning, and then ultimately the harvesting. There were like three core memories from that experience that I'd like to share real quick. The first one is these kids eating raw kale. They would pluck the kale and just go to town on it. They loved it. It was so surprising. I had no idea. We added that to the salad bar a lot as well. and they loved it. Who knew? Secondly, the girls in the detention class would dare each other to eat the peppers in the garden and see who could eat the hotter ones. There was nothing like habaneros, but we did have some jalapenos and some like tall or small Thai peppers. And the girls would get out there and dare each other, take little bites and freak out. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. Harvesting raw peppers. There was also this one boy who was a bit of a troublemaker. He was always in detention, and so he was kind of always out hanging out with me. And he became my bud. He became my helper because I could kind of rely on him to be out there, right? So one day we were out there harvesting from the garden. I was showing him the different type of veggies that we were growing, and we got to the broccoli, clipped a little bit of broccoli off and tried it. And I saw his mind just explode like right in front of me. And he was like, "Man, this is how broccoli is made? Wow." And I saw that. I saw that recognition in his face, man. And I hope that memory is as fond for him as it is for me. Because that's like, I'll never forget that. That's one of those core memories of being there, you know? So I've had a lot of crazy ideas in my lifetime, but they always tend to center around like food stability and growing crops and feeding communities. And I've got ideas about, vertical farming in containers. There's a couple companies out there that are doing it that I love. It sounds awesome. Sounds like a great idea. I don't know why we can't take a vertical farm container and plop it down in the middle of a food desert and teach people how to use it and teach people how to harvest and provide produce for people. I don't know why we can't plop one of these containers in the middle of Africa somewhere and feed people who don't have food. Why can't we do something positive to help erase hunger? I think it boils down to money and resources. Pricing out these containers, they're not cheap, but who wants to weigh sustaining a village with food against the $25,000 to $50,000 it takes to make one of these containers sustainable? I mean, somebody out there has to be thinking, I'd pay $50,000 to feed a village in Africa for the rest of their lifetime. I don't know. I got to think there's philanthropists out there that would be willing to do that. Hmm. Part of my container goal dreams, my container homes and container house dream is to figure out how to do produce in containers and make it a sustainable endeavor, right? There's companies out there, like I said, that are doing vertical farming in containers and they do it really well. A lot of restaurants are buying these containers and plopping them in their parking lots or in a warehouse somewhere and, growing fresh produce for their restaurants. And that's great. That's awesome. But I think we can do more. I think we can plop them down in the middle of neighborhoods who aren't doing so well, teach people. I've seen a lot of folks in Detroit buying up a whole block and turning it into urban gardens and urban farms and taking kids who used to be gangsters and having them raise chickens on the plot and having them help raise the produce. And to me, man, that's activism right there. That's community. That's where we need to be. Now, I'm no expert gardener. I was part of the Master Gardener program in Hennepin County for a few years, and I learned a lot. and I got to interact with a lot of different people. But let's just talk about crops in a garden real quick. Um, then this is just from my experience, my taste, things I like to do, things I'm passionate about. So the first thing that every garden needs, in my opinion, is a tomato. And not just one tomato. You probably need about 4 or 5 different tomato plants, maybe 5 or 6, maybe more than that. Now, if I could have a garden with only like 4 tomato plants, I would choose one of them that was like the fatty beefsteak tomatoes, right? They're the ones that take all season to grow and they end up big and juicy at the end. And those are good for like slicing on sandwiches and stuff. Those are good. I would also have a Roma plant. Roma tomatoes are great. I have this breakfast salsa recipe that I make that has a bunch of Roma tomatoes in it, and you take the tomatoes and you grill them so they get little crispy skin, and then blend them up and make a breakfast ranchero salsa. Mm, man, that's getting me hungry just thinking about that salsa. Cherry tomatoes, gotta have cherry tomatoes. They're tons of fun. The kinds I like just start vining and traveling all over the place. It's fun to train the little vines and the shoots up on a fence or wherever you can, trellis, something like that. Um, they also have these varieties of cherry tomatoes that are like little yellow bells, and yellow bell cherry tomatoes are delicious. So I like to get the red cherry tomatoes and I like to get the yellow bells. Those are a type of, well, so let's see. Let's talk about this real quick. There's 2 different types of tomatoes. There's determinate and indeterminate. Determinate means that all the fruit is going to be ready at the same time. So the whole plant is going to mature and then bam, all the fruit's ready. You harvest it, basically take all the fruit off the plant's done. Indeterminate means that it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. A lot of cherry tomatoes are like that, where you'll go into the garden one morning and you'll get a basket full of cherry tomatoes and you can see like on the little strands, there's usually like 6 or 8 little cherry tomatoes hanging on there and you can pluck a couple off and then the rest of them will come a couple days later. That way you're not overburdened with too much fruit at one time. Too much produce at one time can be tough to handle because maybe you can't eat it fast enough and then some of it spoils or goes bad. Um, I've had issues with the determinate ones. Like all of a sudden, you just have a bucket full of big fatty beefsteak tomatoes. And you're like, wow, what are we going to do with this? And you got to start blending them up and making tomato sauce and putting it in the freezer and, canning it and saving it for later. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be a little overwhelming at times if you're not 100% prepared for it. So, tomatoes are great. You can grow them on a porch. You can get a 5-gallon pot. You can get one of the jugs from Home Depot. Cut a little couple holes in the bottom for drainage. Fill it with dirt. You can grow any type of tomatoes in there. It'd be awesome. They do require, a good amount of sun and decent amount of water. But tomatoes are very rewarding if you can grow some of them. Herbs. Let's talk about herbs. I like to have basil in about every garden I do. I think basil is a great addition to a garden, and when you pair it with a tomato, just a little slice of tomato with some fresh basil on it, maybe a little chunk of mozzarella. Such a refreshing, tasty treat. Basil's pretty easy to maintain as long as you pinch off the flowers when they appear. Now, I'll put a picture in here of what that looks like, but as basil starts growing, it develops these really beautiful purplish lavender type flowers. And if you let those flowers go the whole plant will kind of go to seed, and then you won't be able to maintain it. You won't be able to keep harvesting. So basil's kind of like tomatoes in that way, the indeterminate. So if you pluck the flowers off and then harvest some basil, it'll regrow and it will just keep coming in all season long. Basil's great. I love to have basil. I love to have rosemary in a garden. I love to have some thyme. I think those are good for, making some Italian dishes, cooking them up real quick with some fresh rosemary and some tomatoes. Super tasty. Um, I also like to add flowers to my garden. Now, flowers do a number of good things. So, number one, they're beautiful. They're really pretty to look at, and they make your garden more appealing, right? Um, Sometimes I've gotten too many greens in my garden, and the garden is just filled with green things, right? And that's not bad, but it's like having some flowers in there to add a little variety is fun. I like zinnias. I like marigolds. I like black-eyed Susans. I like dahlias. Sunflowers are a must. Sunflowers are beautiful. Many different varieties and sizes, and they're just tons of fun. They do get, if you get like the big gigantic ones, you might have to put some stakes in and reinforce them if you want to keep them upright, because eventually they get so top heavy they just start bending. But uh, zinnias, dahlias are great. Coneflower, echinacea, those are great as well. All these flowers have this added benefit of bringing pollinators into your garden. And bees, birds, all bugs, all these type of pollinators are so necessary to ensure that your flowers are turning into fruit. So, flowers, tomatoes, basil, rosemary. What else do I like to grow? Cucumbers. I love growing cucumbers. They're fun to train up a trellis or train up a chain link fence if you have one of those. Super easy to maintain. You just kind of plop them in the ground and help them grow. Peas are the same way. There's a lot of different varieties of peas, and beans. So there's like snap peas and bush beans and trellis beans and all sorts of different types of uh, peas that, number one, the flowers of the peas look really pretty. And then, especially like the snap peas, you can train them like over a trellis or something. And I've done it like in a hoop before. So you get a hoop over you and you can walk through it and you can just pick off all the peas like right above you. That's a lot of fun to do. Eventually they'll start climbing. Like if you put them on the ground and then build a little hoop or whatever, they'll just start climbing up. And you can do companion planting, like where you mix a couple different crops together so that you can have like cucumbers next to your peas. Onions go good with companion planting because real strong scents like that kind of keep away some of the pests at times. So I like to put some onions in there and you can kind of just kind of sprinkle things around, right? Find out what works. The thing about gardening is that every time you do something, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be failures, but you learn every year. Um, and keep at it, Not everything's going to work. Not everything's going to be as awesome as you expected, but keep at it and you'll get some produce. And these days, with the price of everything and the way the world is working, food stability is a very important matter. And I've kept chickens for a number of years. They're tons of fun. Um, I had some ducks. They were a lot of work. They were really, really messy compared to the chickens. Unfortunately, I had some predators in the neighborhood that liked the ducks more than I did, so I didn't really get to see them for that long. But chickens I had for a number of years until they stopped laying, and now they're on a retirement pasture that a friend has. Need to get some new ones and get the coop back up and running, but chickens are tons of fun and don't really require that much attention, especially, if you get some of these automatic feeding type things. Like, I'll show you a picture here. I've got this like tube that you can just kind of fill the top with the food and then gravity takes care of it. And as they eat, it just kind of falls down. It's a pretty nice system. The watering was kind of a pain, especially in the wintertime. Had to keep the water warm somehow, break the ice out of it. I also ended up having to wrap the coop in Tyvek over the wintertime. It got so cold, the breeze coming off the frozen lake right up into the coop was a little too much for the little chickens to handle. One of them got frostbite pretty bad on her comb, and um, so I took some measures and wrapped the coop in Tyvek, and ever since that, it was great. Just keep that on until the spring, and some sort of covering or whatever, keep them out of the wind, keep them out of that cold weather. But check with your local regulations and check with your city to see if you can have those chickens. But they're a great addition to any garden. I let mine free roam for a while, and they would kind of run around and help clean up the bad bugs and just provide some entertainment too. They were crazy. They were wild. Love my chickens. Yeah, food stability is an issue. And like I've said before, I've got all sorts of crazy ideas in my head about food stability. And, I think everybody in the city limits and in the inner city should be growing pots of tomatoes in their front yard, growing cucumbers up their chain link fences, and putting patches of flowers all over the place so that pollinators come back. I mean, we're at a point right now where we're worried about butterflies. We're worried about bees. We have all this open, abandoned space that could be doing so much better for us than we're using it for. Why can't we take some of this space and convert it into more urban gardens, or just get those packs of native wildflower seeds and let it go? Have it the more native grasses and native wildflowers, and take all these abandoned lots and just build them out to farms and help people with food insecurity. There's such a potential to grow your own food and to conquer food insecurity. So many ideas. If you want to hear some more, hit me up. I'd love to talk about it. Something I'm super passionate about. Containers, off-grid, food insecurity, growing your own, being self-sustainable. Those are ideas that really hit me. So, whew. Talking about containers, let's go. Met with a guy on Friday that builds containers in the cities. Didn't really get the vibe that he was down for a little business collab, and that's fine. But checked out the project he was working on, and it seemed pretty cool. Um, it just reinforces the idea that I need to do this my own speed and do my own thing. I have all my own ideas, and I need to be able to see them to fruition. I get all these ideas, like I said before, about looking at Zillow and seeing what the possibilities of a blank open space of land could be. And I was looking at this plot of land across from a ski resort, 8 acres. The front 6 acres of it are farmland, tillable, and then the back 2 acres are woods, and it backs up to a river. And I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'll put the picture here if you want to follow along. You can always go to YouTube and search the Cedar Lake Fishing Club and watch along to what I'm talking about here. But why can't we take this piece of land and plop 4 to 6 containers on that front acreage right there. That could be an excellent rental opportunity for folks wanting to visit Welch. And yeah, Welch, that's the ski resort that's right across the street. Plop a container. You get a container on an acre of farmland. How cool would it be to be cruising in and see, 4 to 6 containers nestled in the farmland, nestled in the corn, nestled in the wild native landscape there? Be able to rent a couple out, you and your buddies, have a meeting spot in the middle, walk across the street to the ski resort. The back forest acreage could be used as residences, and heck, I'd live there in a second. Toss a container right over there, back up against the river. Now, it's in the floodplain, so you'd have to accommodate for that, but you can definitely put containers on concrete piers or stilts. So, if any of you guys listening has this crazy idea that you want to go and explore this idea further, let me know. There's a spot up northwest of here as well that's on the Fish Trap Creek that's got blended hills and forests and high spots and low spots, and it's on the creek. I look at spots like that and I think there's so much potential to do great things with it. Throw a couple containers down, rent them out, make a little passive income. I think it'd be great to have a little B&B style thing set up where you could have a couple residences, like full-time people there running things, have a little main area for food and, check in, and a little store setup kind of type thing where people can come and hang out and see what you're all about. I'll put a little picture of that one here as well, but sometimes I just spend hours looking at these plots of land and wishing I had unlimited resources to just attack it, you know. Of course, if I had unlimited resources, I'd probably be buying plots of land downtown and turning them into gardens as well. That can be like step 4 of the whole container home idea. Phase 4 is putting containers in the city and helping to erase food insecurity downtown. It's good to dream. It's good to have dreams. My dad is a supporter of that. Sometimes I tell people my ideas and they just think it's another crazy idea that I have, but he's been one that's always supportive and always keeps telling me to dream. And I love that about him. So, I'm going to wrap this up for today. Thanks for watching. Keep dreaming, keep loving each other. Know that I love you. I hope this finds you well. Hit me up in the comments. Watch the YouTube. Thanks for being here.